Hello and welcome to VOP this morning. My name is Esther Wachuku. Well, it's that day of the week when we recline and say, thank God it's Friday. And by the way, Fridays only come once in every week. That is, once in 7 days. And that's why only very few persons take it for granted when it comes around. So, hey, this is once again the Thank God It's Friday edition VOP this morning for this week. Now, just sit back and relax while we serve you your wake up tonic and breakfast. That's VOP this morning. Now, with our major topics today, the presidency looks quiet on the matter, but are there two signals emerging from the Senate about the transmission of ministerial nominees? Plus, court orders DSS to allow IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu access to medical records and doctors. We will dive into these topics this morning, but in the meantime, you may click on the like button and subscribe on our page. It is on YouTube at Voice of the People TV, and on all the social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. However, we'll start off with the headlines on some major national dailies. And starting off, we'll consider the Daily Trust this morning. And the Daily Trust says residents desert roads in states. Right, and the writer says workers shun officers, artisans lament low patronage, states to share palliatives using own register, that is by neck. You see all of that story on page 4 and 26 of the Daily Trust this morning. Of course, federal government insensitive, wicked labor unions disclose. All of that is on the Daily Trust. Now, above the major headline there, you will see aviation fuel contamination raises air safety concerns. That will not be a good thing because we suffered adulterated petrol last year, so we don't want this particular scenario to develop again. We also have beside that headline, reps reject planned electricity tariff hike to probe excess crude account. Okay, I'm sure some of us will say yippee to that development because I think Nigerians, considering the fuel subsidy removal, they're still trying to consider how they would cope with another increment in electricity tariff. Okay, so 11 APC governors visit Adamu, urge ex-chair to continue to support party. Well, Adamu resigned recently along with the secretary of the All Progressives Congress Party. So that is one of the issues that is on the front page of the National Daily today. And still on the Daily Trust, FARC shares 907 billion naira, saves 1 trillion naira in external reserve. We also have Kano Disco gets new owners as Kaduna faces license revocation. Also, Iraq cuts ties with Sweden over Quran desecration. Also, Kano CP leads raid on Dala Hill, vows to deal with criminals. That, of course, is what is on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning. So if you have the Daily Trust, you're definitely going to be seeing that right there. Next up is the Punch newspaper, and the Punch here says as a major headline, subsidy removal, governor's plan, cash transfers to poor households, dump Buhari's list. That story is on page 2. That is a story right here on the front page of the Punch newspaper, July 21. And the writer says, states to compile new social registers, governors to spend FARC allocations on scheme. And another one is Tinubu approves infrastructure fund. National Executive Committee adopts gas-powered vehicles for states. That's a good one because the gas-powered vehicle, a couple of persons have begun to, adopt that system for transportation. I guess we have to look for alternative now that premium motor spirit is quite expensive. Then we have about the masthead, APC crisis, National Working Committee members oppose Ganduje, tip North Central for chair. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have military destroys 23 illegal refineries, arrests 60 oil thieves. That's on page 7. And NNPCL, UTM to build Nigeria's first floating gas plant, and that's on page 26 of on the Punch newspaper this morning. We have bottom page, Jam Saga, Soludo sends Mesoma on 3-month psychotherapy. Interesting. I guess it's a way to actually curtail such infractions in our educational system. Ms. Omar recently apologized in front of the panel for what she did. And that's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And we also have another one on the bottom page which says, ignore statement announcing oral rights. Lagos tells residents. Interesting. Ignore statement announcing oral rights. Lagos tells residents. We also have Police Service Commission, that is PSC, promotes cop assaulted by Seun Kuti. 14,053 others. I'm going to take that again. Police Service Commission, PSC, promotes cop assaulted by Seun Kuti. 14,053 others. That's on page 8. I'm sure we all recall the Seun Kuti scenario that took place recently. We also have on the Nation newspaper this morning, whereby the front page says, National Executive Committee, okay, subsidy paying cash for poor workers and SMEs, including others. National Executive Committee, okay, subsidy paying cash for poor workers, SMEs, others. That's on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. And we also have above that, shareholders okay Nova's conversion to commercial banks. That's on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Besides that, we also have President leads tribute for eminent writer Kole Omotosho. You'll see that on page 8 of the Nation newspaper this morning. More Nigerians now apply for passport, says NIS. Dangote Cement buys back 41.2 billion naira shares. That's on page 28 and page 7 of the Nation newspaper. So governors to drive sharing apparatus. Interesting. And there are all the proposals which were listed on the front page of the Nation newspaper. So if you want to know about those proposals, you try to obtain that and read up on it. We also have Tinubu creates infrastructure support fund for states. Federal government, states, council share 900 billion naira. Excess revenue moved to CBN. Okay, interesting. A Senate defers recess for ministerial screening. We also have finally on the bottom page of the Nation newspaper, court asks DSS to grant Kano access to doctors. Echo Bridge shuts again. That is what we have on the major headline of the Nation newspaper. So these are the major stories that are on the front pages of some of the select national dailies that we just, concluded on. Meanwhile, in order for us to delve into what we're going to be talking about this morning, before we comment on a very short breather, it is now much ado about the list of ministerial nominees. For one thing, it appears to be ready, but for the other, we can't say exactly where it is at the moment. So details when we return.